Yes, let's start with the Mitchell Bowl. Would this one be ugly? Well, they are who we thought they were. Let's check off the TD boxes. Humes, Campbell, Humes, Edwards, Humes, Wanati. 61-6 Western, and they may have been able to put up 100 if they left their starters in for 60 minutes. Saskatchewan, Montreal at a cold and sold-out Sepsum. This is the way we like our college football in Canada. 4-1 at the half is not the way we like it in Canada. It was dull as dishwater. But man, what a fourth quarter. It was led by the offensive line and the running of Adam Mackert. Here he caps off a 9-play, 58-yard drive that took almost 5 minutes off the clock with a 9-yard run. Then, on the 10th play of an 83-yard drive with time winding down, he winds his way through to a Vanier Cup berth, Saskatchewan stealing one on the road in the hostile confines of Lake Caribou. So the Vanier Cup is set on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. It is Western. It is Saskatchewan. It is in Laval. Who knows what team is going to be the home team here? Guys, for the vast majority of the day during the national semifinals, those who expressed an opinion on social media weren't talking about football. They were talking about a playoff format and a product that, at least in their opinion, is broken. Now, I've been producing this program for 11 years, and for the last 7 or 8, we get to this point of the season, and we are collectively left with the question, how do you fix it? So how do you fix it, Gord?
I do have a solution, but I think one of the things working in U Sports' favor for this, again, counterintuitively a little bit, is that they get so little exposure that we kind of get outraged about this result once every year for one weekend, one day even, really. And then everybody just kind of forgets about it for another 364 days until it comes around again next year and U Sports can just kind of hide on it. But the solution, in my opinion, is you expand the playoffs to an 8-team playoff. And I think if you're smart, you time it up with when they inevitably do it in the United States, and you tie the two to each other in some sort of marketing campaign. You got an 8-team playoff down there. Well, let's see our 8-team playoff up here. At this point in time, the AUS, God love them, and there's some great institutions in there, but they're essentially the equivalent, the Canadian equivalent of the Group of 5 in the United States when you're looking at the playoff picture. So give them their one automatic berth, let everybody else fill out the 8-team field, and let that AUS team, if there is an outlier that can compete at this level, then let them earn that. And I think that that's what's warranted at this point in time, because I don't think any realignment is likely, and so I think that's the most realistic option.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And, I think the easiest thing to do would be combine Quebec and AU, and I don't think there's any interest to do that. So it does have to become a 2-tier playoff in terms of a second round, and the 8 teams would work. Now we can get into the seeding, but I think the seeding is an easier problem to deal with than is seeing these teams come out and get their rear ends handed to them in the semifinals every year. Put it this way, last 4 games, cumulative score is 243-9. 243-9. AUS teams have lost the last 4, and in the one before that they gave up 50. 61-2 games are not really entertaining. It's not a pretty sight right now, and U Sports must be happy with the product they're getting because they're doing absolutely nothing to change it.
We had a fourth quarter in Montreal that saved us from rock fight Saturday, and as a result, that comeback by the Saskatchewan Huskies gave us a rematch, the 1994 game. Now, the format gave the Huskies the tougher path. What will they have in the tank against a Western team who really hasn't faced a quality test in weeks?
There's a big question, right? I mean, does Saskatchewan have enough left in the tank? They just had a really physical game against Montreal, and you can look at this and say they're battle tested. They've had playoff games essentially since the last week of the regular season when they had an opportunity to essentially knock Calgary out of the playoffs and did. playoff game since, a really, really physical game against Montreal on Saturday. So moving forward, the question is there enough gas left in the tank? Western had almost a bye. They could take out their starters whenever they wanted to. They rotated all three backs really effectively. Now they're going to be a lot more rested heading into this game than Saskatchewan is. So that's the question to me, and maybe the only question for Vanier Cup. If Saskatchewan's ready to do this physically, I think we're in for a whale of a ball game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on whether you buy into the iron sharpens iron philosophy, but Saskatchewan certainly is pretty much at the top of their game right now and firing on all cylinders. And the nice draw for Saskatchewan is because their semifinal was in Montreal, they basically just get to stay in Quebec this week, move over to Quebec City a few hours down the road, and save themselves the big trip back and forth. So I'm going to guess that helps a little bit. But I think on the Western side, Mike, you kind of alluded to it, but I think at this point, you may be more worried about some rust setting in. They haven't really had to be on top of their game since, I don't know, maybe the Waterloo game. I mean, let's be honest, and I don't want to take anything away from that Queen's squad, but the way that they came out and played in the first half of that game, they didn't require Western to be at their best. And let's take nothing away from the St. FX squad. They had a great conference season, but they clearly didn't require Western to be at their best either. So it's tough to just find a next level when you haven't had to be there recently. And that's going to be Western's biggest challenge. And I guess you could say it's themselves.